A reading from the Holy Gospel according to Matthew.
Glory to you, O Lord.
When Jesus saw the crowds, he went up the mountain, and after he had sat down, his disciples came to him. He began to teach them, saying, "Blessed are the poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Blessed are they who mourn, for they will be comforted. Blessed are the meek, for they will inherit the land. Blessed are they who hunger and thirst for righteousness, for they will be satisfied. Blessed are the merciful, for they will be shown mercy. Blessed are the clean of heart, for they shall see God. Blessed are the peacemakers, for they will be called children of God. And blessed are they who are persecuted for the sake of righteousness, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Blessed are you when they insult you and persecute you and utter every kind of evil against you falsely because of me. Rejoice and be glad, for your reward will be great in heaven." The Gospel of the Lord.
Praise to you, Lord Jesus Christ.
Today's Gospel is from Matthew chapter 5, the very beginning of chapter 5. Now, last week we heard from the 4th chapter of Matthew. Abbot Joel preached on that, where Jesus calls the apostles together. He's gathering them together. This is like the preparatory phase. He's gathering his people. And by the end of the chapter, Matthew says he's moving around Galilee. He's teaching in the synagogues. He's curing every kind of disease and illness among the people. And then finally, in the final paragraph of chapter 4, Matthew has Jesus proclaiming the gospel to massive crowds, famous even into the Decapolis, which includes modern-day Jordan and Syria, even among the Gentiles. So here's the riddle. This is like for 500 Catholic trivia bonus points. What gospel was he proclaiming? He wasn't proclaiming the gospel we know about. Matthew was not even born yet. It's been pretty much determined that the apostle Matthew probably most likely did not write that gospel, but an other person from the school of Matthew between 80 A.D. and 110, 120 A.D. So, what gospel was he proclaiming? So, Matthew does tell us in the final line of verse 23. I feel like a Protestant minister. I want you all to get out your Bibles now. Turn to verse 23, Matthew 4. He went all around Galilee, teaching in their synagogues, proclaiming the gospel of the kingdom. All right, okay. Well, what is that? What is this kingdom? I have preached before that question is never really answered, that kingdom is something we have to imagine, to picture it in our mind. But Matthew does the best job. He doesn't leave us hanging, because I propose to you that in chapter 5 we receive the answer to that question. And in the chapters that follow, through parable, through poetry, through metaphor, through declarative commandments and statements, Matthew describes this kingdom and the citizens in that kingdom, what they do, how they behave. So chapter 5 is the lecture notes from Jesus teaching the specifics of the good news of the kingdom. And I'm going to tell you now, we're going to park ourselves on chapter 5 all the way to the end, because the church thinks it's that important that we understand what this kingdom is. We'll be on chapter 5, line by line, until the beginning of Lent at the end of February. So your homework assignment is to go home and read chapter 5, the Gospel of Matthew. Chew on it. Adore it. Use it for your Lectio Divina. Question it. Is it real? Is this real? What's it doing in you when you read those words, most especially of the Beatitudes? Because everything you need to know to live in the kingdom that Jesus is proclaiming, in this world we live in, this sacred, divine land, shot through with grace and charity and love and angels and spirits arranged for us like a garden. We get to enjoy it. It's all in chapter 5, and it begins with the Beatitudes, where Jesus, he's painting us this picture. This is what the kingdom looks like to Jesus. Now, as we work our way through to the seventh Sunday of Ordinary Time, we're going to learn a lot about this sacred land that we're dwelling in, that we are citizens of. And we're going to learn about our duties as citizens of that kingdom. Now, I won't repeat the Beatitudes. You heard them. We've heard them before. We hear them, and we constantly remind ourselves all of them. So I won't go into any great description of the power of the Beatitudes to change your life, although it can. You find that out when you apply them in your daily life. I've preached before about how they're the guideposts to the road to joy, and I firmly believe that, and I witness to it, albeit imperfectly. However, I think now kind of is a time to be honest, right? I mean, if we can't be honest here, we're not going to find it out there. They're unbelievable. They're counterintuitive. The meek will inherit the earth. Has anybody seen any meek and humble politicians lately that we elect? They're countercultural, literally unbelievable. Now, I'm going to leave you with the thoughts of a great theologian, Father Michael Himes. He was my theology teacher. He taught me ecclesiology. I just found out he passed away this past year at the age of 75. I took his course on ecclesiology, changed my life. He didn't write much. He preferred to lecture. He loved being with students and helping them with their questions. But in a book titled Doing the Truth in Love, Conversations about God, Relationships, and Service, he talks about the Beatitudes. He starts off discussing what I just said, that the Beatitudes are unbelievable and do not conform to our perception of the world as we perceive it. And he says, this is not a failure of you to believe or to understand or to go deep enough into the Beatitudes. It's a failure of our religious imagination. Our imagination is so vital in our faith journey. We simply cannot imagine a world where this could be true. We can't picture it. We can't imagine a God where Jesus says, okay, you've learned about the Old Testament God of judgment and anger. Now try looking at God like a mother hen, right? Gathering her chicks. Try that image. See how that works for you. Or a loving parent, or God is a poor widow searching for a lost coin. Think of the vulnerability of God. Jesus showed us that. He writes this. This is, I suggest, the way in which we must hear those very strange statements of Jesus, the Beatitudes. What are we to make of the claims which Jesus seems to advance? What kind of statements are they? Surely they are not descriptions of reality. Has anyone noticed the meek inheriting the earth, the hungry, those who hunger for justice being filled? Are they simply promises? If we keep our fingers crossed and we're really good people, good boys and girls, someday in the future this will all come true. A dream unachieved, a beautiful dream, beautiful poem, kicking the can of our reward down to some nebulous future. Surely not, Michael Himes says. I humbly suggest that they might best be heard as hypotheses. Anybody take a science course? I minored in molecular biology, by the way. I'm not bragging or anything like that. Because I'm humble. Hypotheses are a theory about how the world is that you have to test them. And then you look at the data and you come to conclusions. Imagine the world this way. Live accordingly and see if they do not prove to be the case. The Beatitudes are surely challenges to our imagination. They are to be pondered in our imagination. Allow those images to crystallize out of solution, so to speak, concretized in your life so that they are not ideal truths or some poem, but realized truth in your daily life. They are not to be accepted or tolerated or believed that you would deign to believe them or poetically reinterpreted. They are to be done. And then you check yourself and see if they are real. We weave them into the fabric of our lives. The Beatitudes are an accomplishment of a life well lived. Try it for yourselves. Test the hypothesis. Picture it, imagine it to be true, and get it done. Because the world needs you now more than ever.